Good morning, evening, Misfits.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You are tuning into another episode of the Misfit podcast. Quarterfinals is here. They decided to release the workouts yesterday. Tomorrow, we woke up to some interesting information. I think we can laugh that off right away. We have conversations about whether someone can really get X amount fitter in a month, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. So the idea that it's some massive advantage for anybody.
I tried this morning, didn't work.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened. I tried my hardest to get fitter.
Tried to set the world record on one.
Yeah, didn't happen.
Just having the information didn't help.
It's weird. I can't figure that out.
So we are aiming to cover suggested order and then strategy, movement, mindset for each workout. Now, if we did it the way that we did for the Open, you would be sitting here for 6 hours with us. Some of you might like that. A lot of you probably not.
I wouldn't.
Hunter would really like it.
The waves are waiting tomorrow morning, Hunter. Sorry.
So we are going to
Finals delayed.
We are going to move quickly, but provide some concise, strategic information. So suggested order. Obviously, it is already 6 p.m. on Thursday. We are looking for athletes. Hey, get it together.
Information.
We are looking for athletes to attack number 4 first in almost every scenario. Obviously, there are some scenarios where some athletes that aren't listening to this because they're already in bed have already figured that situation out. But we are looking for athletes to use, sort of that fresh CNS, especially the Misfit athletes who have been tapering and really just trying to prime the central nervous system. So we want to get that workout done first, and then we are going to do event 1 or event 2 today. Again, this is if you're in the United States. There's a lot of athletes in different parts of the world that are going to need to do 1 and 2 tomorrow, which is fine because they have a larger window of time to do those things. And obviously, we're just prioritizing if you are one of those athletes, if you're waking up now, when you didn't listen to this live, spread them out as much as possible. Prioritize warm up, prioritize cool down, really take that stuff seriously. And it won't be that big of a deal. You don't have that delayed onset muscle soreness quite yet from all that. Sunday will be a totally different conversation. And then if you're choosing between 1 or 2 today, and you're about to go do it, I would say if it's a wash, if you're really not sure in terms of strengths and weaknesses, we're going to go with event 1. The demand on the upper body is so much larger in that event than it is in event 2. And to play devil's advocate, what we're telling athletes, if you really struggle with your muscle ups, you blast your upper body before, that could be an issue as well. But listening to athletes that have done it so far, it's not a huge surprise that it's not really the ring dip as much as it is the extension with, the hip flexors being such a massive part of that workout there. So 4 and 1 or 2 today based on those things. And then we can get into alternate scenarios, but we are looking for 1 or 2 on Friday. So 1 workout. We get 2 workouts done today. We get 1 workout or 2 workouts done tomorrow, depending on if you're in Europe or Asia in another spot. And that's when I think we can start to wrap our minds around what this weekend is really about in terms of execution, because you're going in tomorrow and you got all excited and you did those 2 workouts today, then you have this entire day and you're only getting into 1 workout.
Now you got some options.
Yep. Now you've got some options. Obviously, throughout the weekend, if you're trying to get a redo, you didn't really like how you managed your clock during the total, that is possible. Just always take into consideration that your central nervous system is only going to be able to recharge so many times during this period of time. So if you're like, well, I'm going to sneak in number 4 a few times, number 5 a few times, that could end up being a real issue. And you could end up being essentially mediocre across the board as opposed to being able to really bring it.
The luxury too of being only have to do 1 workout on Friday as opposed to 2 workouts on Friday is that, one of the things that these type of weekends test and the CrossFit Games test and semifinals test is your ability to recover between events so you can perform at a very high level. So if you're one of those athletes that's like, oh, I got 2 things done, I'm only gonna do 1 thing on Friday. Yeah, you might have 1 workout, but it doesn't mean your work is done when you go to the gym, warm up, hit that 1 workout, and then do your 10-minute, 15-minute flush and call it good. You need to spend the rest of that time thinking about what is the best use of my free time. It's not to add sessions, do accessory work. It's to make sure that you're doing those little things that might help move the needle and allow you to perform really well on Saturday and Sunday, as opposed to being like, cool, I've got half the work or over half the work that's already done, pat myself on the back, go home and, eat whatever. Like, use that time for extra recovery, because again, you're going to be feeling it with, kind of looking across the weekend. There's a good dose of muscular overload here. So we're thinking about some sore muscles across the weekend. So you can use that time to help you recharge and get ready for the following, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's going to be easy for athletes to have done 2 workouts today and go into tomorrow and be like, oh, I need to hammer out multiple pieces, or feel like, oh, I only have a, if you are doing workout 2 tomorrow, you have for some people it'll be a 15-minute workout. Other people it might be, a lot faster, and that's the only thing you have to do. And you're saying to yourself, I don't feel too bad. Maybe I'll do the total again. It's like, nope, don't do that. Yep. Please don't do that. Get on a bike, flush, take some extra care of your legs, probably most likely, and be disciplined, knowing that this is your week. For a lot of people, this is your weekend, and nobody's doing extra work, save probably a few people that I don't interact with.
Yeah. We're looking for number 3 on Saturday and number 5 on Sunday. Now, if you end up in a scenario again where something went wrong in your lift, you still prioritize number 3 on Saturday. That's one thing where you don't let the athlete brain take over. Had some really smart athletes last year want to essentially redo something back to back. Like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I just want to do it now. And it's like, no. We're not going to add those reps. We're not going to add those reps to that bank and the central nervous system, sort of balancing. We're going to go get number 3 done. That would be the scenario for this year on Saturday. And then you want to know what? You want to sneak in another total before the deadline, giving yourself enough time to submit your video, obviously very important. But yeah, we're still Saturday morning, earlier in the day, we are prioritizing number 3 for sure.
You need to be really confident though that you can improve your total, right? Because if it's one of those ladder lifts and it's like you burn yourself out, like the clean, I would say, is the most demanding as far as a CNS loading. And then you go into Saturday or Sunday and you're just like, my pull is fried, my legs are fried. All of a sudden that 185, 135 snatch is
285.
Is 285 and 335.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a workout where seconds make a big difference. And if you're not firing because you kind of you wanted to add a few pounds to a total, a few pounds here, a few seconds there, I'm not going to try to predict which one's more valuable, but I'd be willing to bet you're going to take a bigger hit on the last workout than you would would otherwise.
And you only get one attempt at what would be considered a fresh version of number 5. So if you get it into your head that you're absolutely terrified of this workout and you decide Saturday afternoon after the submission deadline that you are going to give it a shot, keep in mind that is not the best you are going to feel. You're going to feel better if you prep yourself for Sunday. And to be honest, with it being the type of workout that's, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, depending on, the world record all the way up. If you really botch it, if it goes really bad on Sunday morning, you do have the rest of the day, and that is something we would ask you to do a bunch of times.
Yeah.
If your season's riding on this workout, you have to be willing to go there twice. And this is something I had a conversation with, one of the athletes last year with the 963 taller burpee box jump over snatch, and I was like, your 59 or 303 time is decent, but I think you're capable of a 240. And they're like, really? You want me to do this again? I'm like, go cool yourself down, because it was just right after the workout. Go cool yourself down, refuel, and then go watch your video and tell me I'm wrong. And, after having spent that time to, step away from that, have that recency bias aside, having watched it, they did it again. And I think they bought themselves 18 or 20 more seconds faster because they saw the writing on the wall that it is possible.
It's a very important anecdote.
That's huge. That's huge too. That's a lot of places.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's potentially from not even being able to go to the next stage to now you're going there. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Event 4. How we're having athletes warm up for this. There's going to be a sweat check in every single workout.
Check.
There's going to be 15 minutes on machines. you are looking to get blood flow and activation within muscle groups that are going to be used within the workout. And that can be highly personalized. So if you're the type of person whose lower body just really burns out, but you hammer handstand push-ups, you want to spend all that time on a bike and not go over to a rower or a ski erg after, I'm totally cool with that. But you need to spend 15 minutes getting to that place. We had athletes warm up their overhead squat and their bench. If you've ever taken affiliate class, and I should put an asterisk at a gym that does good warm-ups, the sort of stuff that you don't want to do that your coaches make you do before, the pause overhead squats, the opening up the hips, doing the floss on your shoulders, doing all those things. That's the type of warm up that I look for my athletes to do. 9 PRs out of 9 lifts so far. So we're looking for that, but not really like truly warming that up in the sense of how you would do in a session. Then we are going to like really warm up that clean. And, I think I speak for just about every athlete out there. Get your reps in. Please get your reps in with the clean. You're not going to over warm up, especially with an empty barbell, especially with a light barbell. It's a lot of position work, like really nail down, really start to visualize how you're going to move, lock in those movement patterns and trust them as you're going into that.
Gonna say you're gonna get over warm. You're about to do a 5 workout weekend. You're worried about a couple extra.
I mean, I know a lot of CrossFitters nerd out on like ass to grass and all those other like weightlifting hook grip channels. Like watch those people get ready to do their session. Like that is a great demonstration of what it takes.
Just don't drop the bar from overhead. That shit's scary.
Yeah, I'll cry.
It hurts
don't do that.
a little bit.
I will cry too.
On the inside.
Wooden plates on.
Opening, we're gonna work up to just below that first weight in the workout. Then you start and do your whole thing with the camera, having your opening weight loaded. The opening weight is really important to me because it sits on this very fine line. If you open too light, it's gonna take too long to get up to your weight. And if you open too heavy, you could potentially put yourself in a really shitty mindset going into the rest of the workout. So like with Caroline, it was like, okay, what's your goal? What are you positive you're going to hit today? Okay, we're going to start there. And it worked out really well. She was able to get done more in that like 8 to 9 minute range, which is what I would be looking for a lot of athletes. Like you should be actually bench pressing like by the time 10 minutes rolls around. The bench is there, you've moved the bar, J-cups are where they need to be, all that good stuff.
It's definitely it's not quite like a CrossFit total where you can like do your back squat and then spend like 18 seconds doing a strict press because it's the same no matter what. And then the rest of the time deadlifting. Like you actually need to warm up the bench press a little bit more.
Right.
Like even if that's some light reps before you start the clock or it's just the empty bar, you need to allocate more time obviously for that than for those of you who haven't done the new total but have done a CrossFit total, it's not quite the same in the pressing on the pressing front.
I'd like to see that last lift taking place between 8 and 9 minutes. Obviously, that's an ideal scenario. You think you're going to be able to add 10, 15 pounds and you're at 902. Obviously, hit the clean. Just know that you got to get after it and start working into that. With the bench press, sort of the same idea. You're getting to those working weights, those 80, 90% fairly fast. Don't be scared of quite a few reps with the, empty bar, lighter weights. But I think making those bigger jumps after getting activation into the right positions, central nervous system's obviously awake. Like get to those weights quick because adrenaline could send you to a weight that you didn't know you're going to hit. And if you didn't plan for that, it's going to be 22, 23, 24 minutes before you know it.
We saw that today happen. Athletes hit a pretty good clean, and then that lightning's been ridden all the way into that bench press. So they, again, use that to your advantage.
I think that's another reason it's really helpful to have a coach or somebody who knows you really well and they see the bar moving fast, and they're just like, you don't have time for like that stupid 10 or 20 pound jump. Like make the bigger jump now and then zero in on a weight. But like having somebody there to be like, no, you need more weight on that bar, like, is really helpful.
Athletes moving their J-cups about at the 20-minute mark. Again, I'd really like to see close to a full 10-minute session with that overhead squat, just because I think you can make some pretty decent jumps with the overhead squat after those other two things that you did. But I want an athlete to be, tempo control on the way down in their warm-ups, hanging out in the bottom, preparing for that moment where they, you get the speed wobble, within the overhead squat. I want you to be prepared for that moment. And if you're rushing through just cranking out reps like it's a Metcon, I don't think it's going to have the same sort of effect. So I think you can make bigger jumps, but it's important for athletes to really take their time when they're doing the actual rep. I just think that sets the tone for how you overhead squat.
I don't know if you had them do this, but I told my athlete, like, hey, get a couple reps in, like do a set of like 3 to 5 with that very first weight on the bar. Just like probably everybody listening to this understands, like, or says to themselves, oh, if I can get it overhead, I can squat it. Like nobody's overhead squat is heavier than their back squat. So it's about just making sure that kind of stabilizing musculature is ready.
Right.
And then you can just control it on the way down. Like it's not a race, as it is like to get up out of the bottom of a clean or something like that.
Right. When it comes to to technique and, movement strategy on all of these, we can sit here for a very long time and talk about it, but that's probably going to help you out more in Comp Block 2 and Comp Block 3 than it is right now.
We don't do technique here.
I think there's something very powerful about visualizing the way that you want to move before you're clean. Like really, I told both Austin and Caroline, take that extra second, just one more second than you normally would. Hook grip is set. I know exactly what, drive through my legs, sweep back to the hip. Like I know exactly how I want to move, and I just want to see it for a second before. And then big lift energy. Like you got to bring it. You really have to bring the energy to this session and to be able to actually utilize adrenaline. Like that part of it
really,
is
really well.
very,
you can see them both doing that a really good job before their lift happened. Like that, before they even walked over to the bar, you could see them both kind of close their eyes and like do the head nod a couple of times. They knew that was coming. So again, that is a super important part of this thing, because again, you can't just stroll up to that thing like it's a Tuesday afternoon squat clean session. This is an event.
Yeah. When it comes to the bench press, I see a lot of athletes lower the bar too high up on their chest. You got to make sure that we're really getting down towards the sternum, so that you don't have that. A lot of people press back up towards the rig and get that internal rotation in their shoulders. You can see that sticking point. Looks strong, stops. What the hell just happened to me? It's because you're pressing the bar back up towards it. So we really want to lower, elbows are close, and then we want to drive straight up into that position. So make sure you have somebody with you that's, sort of helping you, do the weights and all that, and, giving you a lift off if you need it. Also pay attention to your bar path. And then I said to Caroline, listen, this is the bro lift of all bro lifts. Slapping yourself in the face, scream, whatever you got to do, stomp your feet. Like you have to bring the heat. The clean tells you the second you pick it up off the floor what it expects of you. The bench press is weird. You're literally laying down, right?
Yeah.
And you don't do it that often, and you have to be able to like really bring the energy and the mindset to be able to just go like down, up. Okay, that was it. Like, excellent. You're the one who supplies it there. And it's funny because I said that to Caroline and we sort of really worked through what that meant. And I said it to Austin and he had this huge shit-eating grin on his face. He's like, oh, I know. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. You're obviously
throws on the headband, fucking slugs a beer.
Yeah. Smacked a few together, straight to the face. And then on the overhead squat, be gritty. Like, obviously, we prioritize making sure that you can drive the bar up into an excellent position to get it overhead. Like getting the bar overhead and not wobbling is a huge part of it. Driving your knees out and bracing your midline. Like a lot of athletes will forget they get into the wobbles, heel toe, and the knees track in that same spot. And you can get away from that and really sort of spread the weight out in your foot by driving your knees out. That's all good and fun. Shit hurts your wrists. You know what I mean?
Strap up.
It doesn't show up enough for us to spend a ton of time in the off season. Like be gritty in the lift. If the barbell falls on the ground, okay, it's over. I don't need you to be gritty at that point. But if it doesn't, like keep your shit together. You can really surprise yourself with an overhead squat. You can put some like in a competition setting, you can put some crazy weight over your head and squat it if you stay tough.
Yeah, the thing that I thought was a separator for the people that had good success today versus didn't, and people that had that grittiness, but then maybe didn't understand that if you begin to squat at a speed that doesn't allow you to stay stable, you're going to get in a lot of trouble there. So like, again, this is not necessarily say go tempo with your overhead squat, but you need to be in control of your entire descent. You can't not go into your bounce, catch that squat reflex bounce that you normally get in a back squat and expect that when you do that, you're not going to pitch forward with your torso. The bar's going to go behind your head and all of a sudden it's going to be a lot harder to stabilize that thing. So make sure that you're going into that depth kind of with more control than maybe you otherwise would if you were trying to, I don't know, try to do a 1 rep max back squat at a competition.
Event 1. Sherb did event 1 with his hands at 36 inches wide.
Wouldn't recommend.
Wouldn't recommend. Make sure your tape.
I would also recommend doing all your dumbbell overhead walking lunges like in comp block 2 that I didn't do. So, or phase 2. So shame on me, but
shame on Sherb. So I want to take the time to explain how the sweat check works, because this is such an upper body dominant movement. And if you don't do the sweat check correctly, your body will not send any blood out to your shoulders. Truth. It won't do that. So the way that this all works, we're sitting here right now, most of our blood is in and around our organs. If we take the time from 0 minutes to 15 minutes to slowly build up pace and heart rate, just a couple watts extra, a couple beats per minute extra, really work ourselves into that, blood gets sent out to the entire body slowly. Everything's good to go. If we shock the system, midline contracts really hard and it sends as much blood to the lower extremities as possible. I think we've all felt that before, done that by accident, been on the C2 bike cranking away because we were late showing up to class and it just feels like someone's stabbing you in the legs. It's like, this makes no sense. I haven't been on this thing for very long. So take the time to do that. It's going to seem weird and counterintuitive. This is not a gas workout. This is not a cardio workout. So you would think that's when you need it most. But if I need adequate blood flow to my shoulders so that they actually freaking work, then I need to take the time, make it 20 minutes if you have to. Like really take the time to let your body know what you're about to do.
Yeah, I think the 15 minutes is kind of like that minimum effective dose. But if you need longer because you don't feel like you're there yet, take that time. You have all the time that you need.
This is a tale of 2 workouts. If you love handstand push-ups, I'm kind of just going for it. And when I say love, I mean love, because the person that I know that can do the most strict handstand push-ups I've ever seen did not love the final, quote unquote, love the final set. This is a Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were moment. Like this is what you think it is. What's great about it is in no standing around season, there's some tricks, right? So if you're not just absolutely going for broke, we know that you don't get any points for doing pirouettes with your farmer's carry the whole time. So you can set those babies down, spin, and do a quick little deadlift. It's time under tension, right? Breaks it up mentally in your head. Like, okay, it's just 10 more lunges. You have to be really fast in your transition, but that can't help. Next thing is going to be getting to that wall as quickly as possible. And if you are trying to go to semifinals, we're looking for you to get over half of the handstand push-ups done in the first set, close out that set, get back to the lunges. The second set of lunges is intriguing a bit in this scenario, depending on how you hold them. If you hold them in that true front rack position,
it's going to compound pretty quick.
Now, the issue is I've seen people without the mobility required to put these bad boys, sort of on their neck, behind their head.
It's also tension on your triceps.
Tension in your triceps. If you are going to go into this position, which is recommended for a lot of athletes, we got to sort of have that looser grip, and you should feel like you could move around with your shoulders a little bit. If you feel like you're locked and stuck in this place, it could truly be worse for you than just holding them and really just making sure that there's full contact with the head of the dumbbell on your shoulder. So make sure you warm that up and do, 5, 6, 7 steps, go get upside down and see which thing has more of an effect on you. How you break those up, you should know how you are mentally. Are you the type of person that if I put them down, double dumbbell snatch is going to happen in like 7 minutes? Then we need to push a little bit. You need to push through those and sort of just deal with it. If you're the type of person that just is maniacal about it, Kenzie Riley, like put those things down, turn around, double dumbbell snatch, like just back at it, then great. Get into it. I think one of the strategies we saw today was a 20-10-10, which worked out pretty well. 20-20 can work. 30-10 can work. It's just, again, all about if you're going to give yourself extra transitions that don't necessarily need to be in the workout, you got to be really fast about it. Moving on to the deficit handstand push-ups, this is one of those times where I think a lot of athletes could make up time on athletes who don't know what this workout is. So you get done your front rack lunges, get your ass upside down, like start doing a set. Because you'll see a lot of athletes who like handstand push-ups that are in no rush, shake it out a little bit. Positive 20 is about to just happen quickly, and then they get a nice introduction into this workout. It's going to be a problem. So if you know that your 2 sets get done in the same amount of time that their 1 set, and it's a similar amount of reps, you've just made up a serious amount of time in this workout. So get on the wall no matter what. Get over there, get on the wall. And I think most athletes are looking for the like 3 to 6 set range. I think that encompasses just about everybody. You cannot stand around. You just can't do it. If you're not cranking out reps, you got to shake it out and get back up for another short set. If you're on the 6 end, like you really got to do that.
There's definitely a fine line, and we saw it more probably in the strict handstand push-up set where it's just like easy, and I can't press anymore. And that'll show up in the deficit, especially if you're not effectively using your legs. Yeah. It's one of those kind of workouts where maybe you do need to incorporate a little bit more of the hip drive in order to just like assist with that press, especially if your upper body's going, but really not trying to like push to come down before you hit that failure point. Of course. You're failing on the strict, like got it. You're trying to grind them out, but if you're failing in those deficit reps, man,
taking the workout too far.
Yeah, it's gone too far.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is going back to the kipping ones to start with. It might be a trap for you to go too big, especially if you're one of those people that does the shallow knee kip over and over again because you love handstand push-ups. It's one of the things I try to remind Austin of when he was going through his attempt. It's like, I know these aren't super hard right now. Use your hips now because you will need your shoulders because the last 3 things are shoulders.
I honestly think that'll be a big part of the final thoughts. There's some tricks built into this weekend and how you move, and if you don't think about the way you move early in workouts, you're going to be in quite a bit of trouble. I'm going to say something. You guys tell me if this reigns true for you across the board. You cannot put the fucking dumbbells down during a set of 10 unless they like fall on your head. Like you have to do 10, 10, 10. I would rather see an athlete take an extra beat than like, obviously there's a scenario where if like you're doing 5-5 and you're just bam, bam, like done, good to go. But there is something about that, like giving in and dropping when you've got 2 or 3 left.
Time warp again.
That really messes with people's workouts.
Yeah. I think it depends. I think if it's because you took it too far and it's like out of necessity, then obviously that's the case. But like, yeah, I think the demand of getting the dumbbells from the ground all the way overhead, kind of getting back in the rhythm of lunging, knowing that you have to turn around every 10 steps is kind of like the turnaround itself is obviously time under tension. So trying to get 3 sets in is
no one's going to turn around with the dumbbells over their head. I wouldn't think most athletes wouldn't find it very easy to have 2 dumbbells supported overhead after finishing, 4 or 5 lunges, turning around and trying to start again.
Unless you're going like 15-15 or something like that. Yeah. Trying to do 2 sets.
Right. I mean, strict handstand push-ups, do them. What I can say is it's not across the board in CrossFit, but it's like, it's too many really good athletes. When athletes get tired, they do the like bend your head back thing. And if you have to go there earlier on in your set of 10, it's going to be an issue. People don't trust their movement. Like if you keep pressing and keep your chin down and keep moving essentially straight up and down, some really good things happen. You can surprise yourself. And you think you only had 4 for that first set and you actually have 6.
And I would even argue
the second that arch goes for me, it's just, I know an athlete is now flirting with like we could be adding 30, 40 seconds to this workout that we don't need.
Yeah, you definitely don't want the Pez dispenser head going back, but I think also you want to make sure you just squeeze your rib cage. If you're bracing your midline, you're not pressing and losing that midline as you go. Again, just another thing to think about. If you're not thinking about the head, squeeze your midline, and that should allow you to slide up and down the wall without any of that pressing your arms going into further like thoracic extension. Because again, if you are that athlete, there's nothing wrong with doing 10 super fast singles as opposed to 6 in a row, kicking up, failing, and then, like you said, adding another 40 seconds that was not necessary just because you had a bad strategy.
Right. I'm going to go fairly rapid fire through movement efficiency. We see a ton of athletes, especially when fatigued, doing essentially a split squat and then bring their feet back together. When you are doing this many reps of lunges, you desperately want to use your posterior chain. And with the rest of the weekend, you definitely
nice to use it.
Want to use your posterior chain. So when you are in the bottom of a lunge, you are thinking, my hips can only travel forward now. Obviously, they're going to go up as well while they're doing that. But at no point should your hips from the bottom of a lunge go up and then step forward. You want to drive through. One of our coaches next door, Mark, had a good comment about pulling with your front foot. Try to pull the floor so that you're going there. Whatever cue it takes, make these lunges and not split squat and then bring your feet together. Other thing, be dynamic. Stay dynamic with these. Keep that time under tension low because it affects. You can deal with leg burn. You know, we've gone over this in so many podcasts. You can deal with the leg burn of the lunges. You can't like unbank all of that tension that you have in your upper body from farmer's carry, front rack, and then overhead. Get those things done. Like really step through them. When it comes to the handstand push-ups, big theme for the weekend, move super efficiently from the gate. We see so many athletes that love handstand push-ups that just sort of lollygag through that first set and then, you know, struggle either in the second or third or both sets. Like, use your lower half. You have to. The funny thing is, a lot of athletes think that they need to overload that position, but it's really more about how hard you're kicking.
Yeah, it's the speed of kicking.
Like, really be dynamic in that. And we do muscle overload workouts with handstand push-ups on a very regular basis. And that second set, when we do that and you didn't use your hips in the first set, is always a smack in the face.
Yeah.
It's always one of those things. It's like, shit, I should use my hips in the first round.
Yeah, I felt that vibe when I was in the middle set of handstand push-ups, 100%. The being a little lazy because I like handstand push-ups bit me in the ass, and I normally would say, oh, it's like 3 or 4 sets to get through those 20, and it was not 3 or 4 sets today.
I think muscle overload workouts, transitions get lost in those workouts because you're like trying like hell to hold on to whatever you're doing, and then you're like, I finally get some relief. You got to stay moving. Do not add 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds to a workout because you think you can go unbroken or that you want to do that bigger set. Get over to the wall, get some handstand push-ups.
That's an ego trap right there. That's what that is.
Yeah, it sure is. All right. We are on to event number 2. This workout is very interesting. It's very intriguing. It's very much about that hip flexor game. Obviously, with the pistol, we have to hold that off leg up. There's a lot of hip just involved with doing a single leg squat, sort of getting that extension, being out over the leg anyways. So just in terms of warm up, gonna say it again, get that sweat check in, really get that lower half ready. And you know, when it comes to strategy for this workout, it's very individualized. What I will say though is I know I have the mobility, but I think people are babies on pistols. I think a lot of really good athletes.
Yeah.
Wait, can be good athletes. Never mind.
Can be a little soft in the pistols. Like, my abs hurt or my arms hurt, so I'm just going to let that feeling sort of take over here. There's no stopping in pistols. You can slow down if you need to. Yeah. There's no stopping in pistols. I think that is typically a pity party. It's typically that sort of mindset that just puts you in a place of like, wait, you just can't give me one more. And then obviously, again, it's just one more, and then it's one more, and it's one more. But I really do think athletes can ask a little bit more of themselves on the pistols. I think that can make up a lot of time, because you just see athletes who like pistols and it's like dung, 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 just back and forth. And it's like, how is this even the same movement for us?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a muscle up workout. realistically. Like
Yeah.
combining, making sure that you're not crossing the line as far as like kind of that hip flexor and muscle overload demand in the turnover. The pistols are your rest, or I think, as far as like
Definitely metabolically.
Metabolically, and just not taxing the exact same group of muscles more so that you need for like the muscle up, which is where, you break those sets up. Same with the GHDs. Like you can grind through them a little bit. I don't think there's anything wrong with like taking a quick break in order to save your midline for the turnover and the muscle up. But it's a lot quicker to just sit yourself on top of the GHD for 3 seconds than it is to all of a sudden you need 4 sets on your muscle ups instead of 3 or 2.
The time evaporates faster at that muscle up ring set than it does over at that GHD.
Yeah, with the GHD, I would like to see an athlete stay pretty tough through the majority of the set and then switch their mindset into how is what I'm doing right now going to affect my muscle ups. Like we had some athletes doing 25-5 just for that sole purpose of like sort of wiggling it out and being like, am I ready for this set? Am I ready to get off the GHD, go over there and jump up to the rings right away? Get a lot of athletes that get stuck in that movement and aren't thinking about what's going to happen, sort of moving forward. So, coaches, make sure that you're talking to your athletes about like how are you feeling right now going into these muscle ups? Like, are you going to set the world record on 20 through 30 and then not be able to go over there and get up on the rings? It's going to be a problem. The muscle ups. Another highly personalized situation. Some of the best athletes in the world in the right gym with the right strap length, you're looking at a potentially unbroken situation, but you don't get any points for that. Like, that's the thing. So many people get so hung up on this, and then we bring it up over and over, but Kenzie would hate this workout and then do well because she had a good strategy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, when do we learn that unbroken set sounds fun, sounds nice, and just
how
isn't.
How long did you wait before you jumped up to the rings to do your unbroken set? And then how much slower did everything else get because you did it?
It's only impressive if your overall time is good. That's the easiest way to say that. Like, the only way unbroken muscle-ups are impressive is if you have the best score in the world. Then kudos to you.
We're looking for athletes to, when we talk about the theme of the weekend, just like the handstand push-up, you need to be really dynamic in your turnover from rep 1 to rep 30. Athletes won't notice that the hip extension itself feels pretty good, but then folding over, especially if you're one of those people that kicks your feet really high, we have to be really dynamic when it comes to that. And because this isn't this like disgusting metabolic demand workout, you need to rely on being fast when you're there. There are workouts that are not as upper body, focused, where you can sort of go through the motions a little bit more in your muscle ups. This is not that workout. And then, for the love of God, kip your dip. If you're dynamic in your turnover, there's a pretty good chance that your lower body is going to send itself behind you or underneath you. Just use that momentum. Keep working yourself through that position. I think I would like to see any athlete who is not just like so sure that they're going to do it unbroken, muscle ups their wheelhouse, they do them all day. I think they go by feel on set number 1, really sort of asking themselves in that 6, 7, 8 range, am I going to be grinding at all at 10? Because if the answer is yes, drop and get right back up. Not a big deal. Does not add hardly any time whatsoever. Again, it's not a make or break at that moment. It's a make or break if you are grinding through in the final set. That's where that's going to show up. I would like to see planned sets on set 2, at the very least, just to say, no matter what, I'm going to come back down at 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. That's where I would want to see athletes. Obviously, if this is 3 sets, 4 sets, whatever it is, we don't want to grind. We want to come down before we need to and get back up when it's our choice. And then that last set, at that point, it's just 10 muscle ups for time. So, we are reaching a little bit. Don't be that person that gets 8 or 9 and then the gym has to rally around you for 45 minutes to get your 9th and 10th. Take your time a little bit going into that. Try not to self-sabotage. But really, really making sure from rep 1, we are forcing that turnover. We are kipping our dip and then being smart for the rest of the workout. I would rather see an athlete be so stoked that they crush that final set than be like, I went too hard at the beginning of this workout. it's not going to be that helpful.
Yeah, kind of going on to, I think we're probably in the sort of like the mindset part of this thing is that we sort of alluded to it with the end of the GHD set going into the muscle-ups that, as you're finishing up your pistols, you're thinking the second I stand up from rep 30, I'm going to go slide my feet into the GHD and get started. We know at some point you're probably going to get stuck potentially, maybe purposefully on the GHD saying, you know what, I'm going to try to do 25, take a quick shake and go back and do the final 5 or, 20 and 10, like you said before.
Yep.
Same goes for the muscle ups. Like prepare yourself to do the next thing and get right to the next station because they're going to be planned breaks in this workout. And like you said a minute ago, the pistols are the kind of the resting movement. You kind of stay moving, but it's not a super metabolic demand like the way that the muscle ups and GHDs are. Set yourself up to be thinking about that as you finish up your set. There's so often athletes like amnesia occurs, like they finish the GHDs and they go like, all right, what now? It's like, no, you should be over at those rings getting ready to hop up for your first set. And I think that can eliminate a bunch of extra wasted time in this workout because you're going to be forced to break for most athletes.
I think amnesia is the perfect segue to event number 3. We're going to start with mindset first. There's going to be a lot of really good athletes that are frustrated when they see the leaderboard after day 1. Events 1 and event 2 are very upper body gymnastics driven. There are some incredible athletes out there, whether it's mobility or skill or strength or size, that it's just not in the cards for them to crush those movements in the same way that it is for somebody else. Guess what? There's 5 events. There are 5 events. There's not 2. You need to be able to go into day 3 with that mindset of, here comes my stuff. I get a cardio piece on Saturday. I get a gas tank workout on Sunday. The fitness is on. Congratulations on your gymnastics. Watch this shit. Like that, you need to be able to go there and reset your brain before even thinking about what we're going to try to tackle in this workout.
Yeah, thinking about the cardio element of this workout is just that, you spend so much of the year doing these specific stimuli that, hopefully you've taken the notes throughout the season and realized that, that the movements are interchangeable. It's the stimulus that matters, and you've practiced the stimulus a ton. Don't make it out to be more than it is.
Because literally a workout like 3 weeks ago we did. That was like descending wall ball and shuttle runs in between. Like, refer back. I wish I could. It's on our Instagram.
The last 2 weeks,
Scroll back, find the MFT number, and if you were doing what you're supposed to and recording scores and taking notes and stuff, like you could take a look at that for sure. But it's a cardio, but it's also, you were talking about it before, that shuttle run can be a time warp if you're just like do. It's like it's long enough that it matters. Doesn't need to be like a sprint. Doesn't need to be like I need to accelerate to top speed and then slow back down, because that's a pretty bad idea. But it is you need someone's got to keep you honest, or you've got to be disciplined on your turnarounds and just on like getting right to work, because that's where everybody who matters is going to do the wall balls. Probably, I'm assuming unbroken. Correct. Maybe 2 sets and like the big set. Maybe rope climbs.
2 sets is fine, but you're doing it on purpose.
Sure, yeah. Rope climbs are going to end up being hey, just don't walk away from the rope. That set's not that big, so it's like, how hard do you want to run? How hard do you want to row? How hard do you want to?
It's like an old school, high school, like beep test is what this workout is. It would probably pay to have someone in the room with you that's kind of taking notice of how long a 25-foot length is and keeps you accountable and say, you're slowing down, you're picking it up. Because you're right. Going too hard, the sprint and acceleration and decelerating over and over again across, I don't know how many shuttles, there's a zillion of them, is going to be more metabolically taxing than
64, I think.
And then staying kind of just below that threshold pace the entire time, so that you're never going over to the rope, standing there, going over to the wall ball and standing there. This workout is as much mental as is physical, and that the mental task is going to be, can I stay at that same pace from go until I finish those last? I think it's the last thing is that one single rope climb, but that's the game here. Is can you stay at that same speed the entire time? And if you're not good at that, before you start the workout, it's a great opportunity to practice kind of that cadence, so you're really familiar with how that feels going back and forth. Yeah,
make those. What's great about this workout for a lot of people is that they chopped it up for you. The trick is in making going up the ladder a transition game, and not like move as fast as you possibly can through those and sort of lollygag in between. You win if you have, the silly little things that we talk about during the open figured out, how you're transitioning between these things, what you're doing. That's how you climb up the ladder and stay in control. And then obviously coming back down typically feels quite a bit nicer than going up. What I will say about I'm a shuttle run aficionado.
Big shuttle run guy.
Huge shuttle run
Huge
guy. When you
shuttle
come in
run
last
guy.
in all the engine workouts, but first in the shuttle run test. Why is that? It's because
Go on.
it's because if you turn around lollygagging and then sprint and have to use so much musculature to slow yourself down because you hit peak speed way over halfway across, you're going to have issues. You're going to blow your legs up, which we don't want in this workout. It's going to be a problem. We want to turn around and get to whatever speed it is that you think you can maintain very quickly. That middle chunk, it's not lollygagging, but that's not where the effort is. The effort is every single time being quick in that turnaround and having some choppy steps and getting up to a decent pace. That's what's going to allow you in this workout to essentially game that movement versus like I'm at top speed. Oops, I have 4 feet to slow
I
down.
haven't experimented with this, so I'll give that as a kind of qualifier for the advice, but it might be one of those things where it's short enough that in warm up it might help you to figure out how many steps it takes you to like run that distance. And the only other thing I'd say is I don't know how much this will matter for the upper end athlete, especially, is that people are going to complain about their low backs having to like bend over, touch the ground because you're going to do it like a jamoke, and then you're gonna have to snatch heavy the next day. So like, I don't know, just bend your knees a little bit to reach over and touch the ground. Try to touch the ground with the other hand each time, so it's like at least balanced and you're not doing something.
Athletes gain perspective by guessing and checking. Like, work on this stuff while you're warming up. It's a brand new thing that you're not used to. Like, make sure that you know what you want to do there. Some people, like a Sherb, would want to like fold at the waist because he has that mobility. And then some people would want to get into more like a crouch position, get a little bit lower so that they don't go full turtle back.
How do you bend like that? You guys teach me how to bend like that? Yeah, the thing that comes to mind is, and again, the workout Jackie is very different than this long chipper of a workout, but how much does it benefit you to go and sprint the first 500 meters of Jackie? How much more metabolically taxing is it to do that? You have analogies in other workouts that you've done where you realize that like if you bike sprint the first 15 calories of a 65 calorie like event, that's going to end up being more metabolically costly than it actually is beneficial. So again, this is again going back to the riding the line below muscular failure, below that gas tank. You're just kind of petering just below that the entire time. And again, the warm up, whether that's practicing your steps, just practicing that transition, is where you get to dial that in. So, for some people after their sweat check, that might be how they spend their time. And that's a detail that you might not think about. You might be thinking about, I got to get myself hips loose for wall balls or make sure my lats are ready for rope climbs. But having watched athletes go through this workout already, the time warp in this workout is how long it takes you to do those shuttle runs.
Truth. Theme of the weekend, move efficiently from the beginning. Those wall balls, if you decide to just throw them the whole time instead of getting real good knee and hip extension, really driving through the floor, keeping your feet planted, they're going to add up quite a bit, especially with the rope climbs. And then we have a ton of content on our YouTube channel for the rope climb. Please go watch that. Do not make the rope climb what it isn't. The rope climb is a metabolically demanding movement. The rope climb is not, oh my God, my grip is blown, I can't use my upper body. It's a huge pet peeve of ours because it's one of those things where you can take an athlete from like massive weakness to, oh my goodness, this is literally just a guess.
Climb rope better than games athletes.
Yeah, it's a very gassy. It should be a very gassy movement. You should, most of the time in most workouts, depending on the stimulus and what else is there, you should not want to jump back up because your heart's in your throat, because it's massive ranges of motion to get yourself from the floor all the way up. It is not a like I have a really good foothold, but then I just shimmy up the rope every time, and then I get another foothold and I'm holding as close as I can. That's not what this movement is for the highest level athletes, especially in terms of efficiency. Do not make the rope climb what it isn't. That's like the type of thing that could ruin your weekend, could add a lot of time. It's not that many rope climbs for that time domain.
Especially not at once.
You can make it that many rope climbs and make it a totally different time domain, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Mindset in this workout, I think we sort of covered it just in terms of that cardio mindset. You're very mindful of your transitions, but you're very smooth while you're moving. If you find yourself in that zone 4, zone 5 thresholdy feeling early on, it's not a big deal. Just back off a little bit, especially on your shuttle runs. Get yourself back to that place and then methodically move through the other two with efficiency, and you'll be able to recover that. Then obviously, you know, the end of a workout like that is very important, because a lot of athletes will see them just murder 75% of a workout and just fall off a little bit. You just got to have those people around you that can keep on you. You're going to really start to feel it. That cardio pace is going to start to, you know, your phone's going to turn red. It's going to be, you're going to be at, you know, whatever your zone 5 is, 180 beats per minute. It's okay. You've been there. You've lived there. We've put you there on machines over and over and over, so you know what it feels like. Keep moving. Keep people around you that are going to keep you moving. It's just one of those things where it's like, no, pick that ball up right now. Back up the rope right now. Yeah. You're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, at some place in this workout, that cardio mindset that's been like, all right, I've been very controlled and I'm feeling pretty good, will need to be flipped based on your fitness level, where it's now, all right, there are 12 wall balls, there's 16 wall balls, there's 4 shuttles, there's 1 rope climb. Like, at that point in the workout, it needs to be, all right, stomp the gas because you're almost done. But again, the careful thing here is that you don't do that too early and put yourself in a hole where you can't come back out of that.
One of those workouts where I could see athletes just getting bored.
Sure.
I had a conversation with one of my athletes about that on, like, especially on 22.1, where it's just like, fuck, these movements are so boring. This workout's so boring. Like, I'm just going around and around a circle doing the same thing, and I literally just get bored. And that's like, that's honestly something to like, it's kind of, we're like, okay, we actually kind of have to fix that.
Yep.
So having that person there, whether it's the coach or, you know, a peer or something, not necessarily your judge, but like, hey, don't get lost in that round of 16 shuttles was it?
The beefiest, yeah.
The beefier sets, yep. Like, be running for a minute or two at a time, but like, don't get lost while you're doing that.
The y-axis of the getting into flow state is the challenge, and sometimes you are the one that brings what the challenge is. Creative. You go into it and you think, this is boring. Is it boring doing it faster than Justin, Tia, like those athletes? That doesn't sound that boring. That sounds really hard. That sounds like fucking the 15 minutes in zone 5 kind of a situation. So you can decide what is boring and what is not by what you ask of yourself within the actual workout.
Yeah, it's like that Michael Jordan from the, what was his documentary again? The one that just came out, where he's talking about making up, like,
The Last
Dance. Yeah, The Last Dance. He's making up things.
Made up that whole story about that dude talking shit to him.
He made up that entire story just so he could go out there and score like 40 and 15 rebounds. But like that is the kind of thing you need to be able to do in this workout. Like, I took that shit personally. Like, that you can do that in this workout.
Didn't happen. Did you get personally? It's beautiful. I love that. Hey, I mean, he intuitively knew what it took for him to get into that flow state, and he just put himself there, whether the ammunition was given to him or not. And there's so many stories now, because a bunch of those basketball guys have podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, so-and-so said this one thing. And they're like, dude scored 60 in the second quarter. Like, what is happening? This makes no sense. And he just like looks at you and he's like, did the young guy say something? I'm so sorry. He doesn't know, Michael. He doesn't know yet. He doesn't know yet. This dude's like in his late 30s at this point. Like, he's like, all right, well, fuck you. You said it. Speaking of that, you could put event 5 in a Valentine's Day card for me and hand it to me, and I would be like, oh, that's so hard. Thank you so much.
You can do it?
What's that?
Nothing.
He just wants the card. He doesn't want the workout.
Doesn't have to do it.
Card.
It's just,
you could at least race to the barbell.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. When I saw the floor plan, I just knew. And it's funny because I said something to Luca and he's like, I am so excited for this workout. We don't even know what it is, but we just know what it takes to row hard, burpee box jump over, and then go do something with the barbell. And the fact that it is these gigantic ranges of motion, which are the types of things people feel dynamic and great in, and then whack, you just moved your body over a long, long distance. So obviously capacity, your gas tank is huge here. We talk about athletes that have a massive gas tank that get a little too excited in workouts like this. So I'd put that disclaimer out there. If you're the type of athlete that like is licking their chops when they see this workout, just make sure that you show up at the barbell and, you know, you don't like go full sherb and your fingers are a totally different color at that point.
You could have gone to different places with that, going full sherb.
So, I mean, we talked about this a little bit. This was like a fun back and forth little argument about this workout, like how hard are the fastest people going to go in this workout. I think at that point in the weekend, you are going to be going based on feel on the rower. You're going to be anywhere from, if you're really pushing it, 1,600 to 2,000 calories per hour on the rower. That's going to land you in the minute to minute 20 range, roughly, when it comes to that. Just keep in mind that if you are in the minute range, that does not give you any points for your burpee box jump overs. And when you're 13 or 14 in, and it's 7 and 10 of something much harder, that could be an issue. So really go based on feel. It's okay to open up in those higher ranges, but as you're working through it, it's just the effects of the weekend, the 128 wall balls, the 90 pistols, the 120 lunges, that sort of stuff, with the leg drive and the rower is going to show up. And then obviously, we find when athletes start to get beat up, that leg demand in the burpee box jump over becomes very real. So I just want to throw some caution out there, especially if you are a power athlete, because you can power athlete your way out of this workout. Like that can be a real issue there. Now, on the other end, obviously, if you milk this workout a little bit too much and don't love that barbell, you're not really taking enough of a chance to put yourself in a winning position. So if you're terrified of that barbell at the end, we're going to need you to go to a special place before you get there, because there's a pretty good chance that you flush waist a little bit faster than those people that sling a barbell up overhead nice and easy. So I think you can sort of live on that red line a little bit more than a power athlete. Power athlete, just, that gas tank, it's almost like when you click the nitro button in a racing game. It's impressive, but it just disappears. And we typically do find that an athlete that's not licking their chops on a workout like this can go pretty damn hard. It's not as fast as the other person, but they can go pretty damn hard on the rower and the burpee box jump overs and sort of, just get to work on those singles.
I was going to say, they're probably going to feel like they went hard enough, but they might have not gone hard enough and not have touched that gear just where it needed to be in there to give themselves a chance. Because again, obviously the barbell might be that separator kind of at the end of the workout, whether or not you can cycle that thing for touch and go sets, or if you're doing fast power snatch singles, or if you're doing slower power snatch singles. So I do think this is
slower squat snatch singles.
I just think it's one of those workouts where, you might do it once, watch your video, and again, go, shit, like I just left a little bit on the table. So again, you'll have to read into the workout based how you're feeling, but there's almost some like free time at the beginning of this workout where you can kind of rev up that rower to a good old pace and then kind of settle in the middle
exactly.
there. And then as you get into the 27, 28, 29, 30 calories, you throttle into not a slow pace, but a little bit below maybe what the average you hope to hold, knowing that that's going to allow you to get right off that rower, right to those burpee box jump overs and get a good clip going. Because again, all three parts of the workout, well, two parts of the workout are traps where you're going to feel like if you're going fast, but if you have overextended yourself in the thing before it, you're going to be in trouble and you're going to be thinking you're moving fast and you're not moving fast.
Yeah, we're back to event 2. You go full goldfish brain on a workout that has more than one movement in it, and you just show up at the next one like, whoa, what just happened? That's not great, right? No. When you are in the 20 to 30 calorie range, you are thinking about burpee box jump overs. And that, however many, a handful of 100 calories per hour only slows you down 15 to 20 seconds over the course of an entire minute. Once we've chopped off 2/3 of those calories, 75% of those calories, that number drops even more and more. You're talking about a few seconds. In a few seconds with that many burpee box jump overs, which I think a lot of people don't sit down and do the math on what the cycle rate is on something like that. It's going to take you a little while to get through those. So knowing with 23, 27 calories left, how do I feel right now? Do I need to throttle back just a little so I can be steady on my burpee box jump overs?
There's a pretty big difference between like 1,600 and 2,000 calories an hour. Yeah. There's not a very big difference between 1,700 and 1,800. But there is a metabolic difference as far as like what your kind of line is, whether you're, a more powerful athlete, a little bit more of kind of like a turtle, as we like to refer to them, but like make sure you know what your line is. And I would say probably just like a hair underneath, like not much, but a little bit underneath that. You overreach a little bit too much on the rower, you could be in trouble.
Very true. So that's all 5 workouts. Again, we've talked about this before in previous podcasts, but just in case you're new listening to this, you typically don't go watch a painter do his painting, and he's quarter of the way through and it looks like nothing and he shows it to you and he's really sad and he's like, this isn't very good. This sucks, right? Having that mindset of where you are currently sitting while you're trying to paint your masterpiece, it just makes no sense whatsoever. So again, whether the first quarter of that thing looks fantastic, you could still put a bunch of brown paint over that area and ruin it. Red paint, whatever other color.
Whatever you're into.
Whatever color you don't like. Just like we don't want an athlete to be like, oh my God, I absolutely murdered this weekend and we, have gone 2 through. Even more important on that other side, to not let yourself go all, get into the depths of, this crappy mindset because, when it really boils down to it, you're probably just not as efficient on those handstand push-ups and muscle-ups. Don't let yourself go there. You still got your scores from 3, 4, and 5. You still got a lot of fitness that needs to be covered within 3 and 5. And there's going to be some big freaking gaps between you and the person that did not put in the work you did all year in number 3 and 5. Massive gaps. A lot of athletes between both of you.
It's going to be easy, especially after the first, especially when the first 2 scores roll in, I think, for a lot of maybe specialists or to kind of rise to the top as far as gymnastics capability and stuff like that. But yeah, just remember we've talked about it a lot. If the open workouts came out in a different order, you might have felt differently about the overall weekend. So don't, think when you're in it, just be in that event doing the best you can. You can take that macro look a little bit later. But as the athlete, you got to be in just what's the next thing? If I'm in the workout, what's my next rep? What's my next set? You finish that. I'm cooling down. Okay, now what's my next event? Don't worry about the leaderboard. It'll shake itself out.
Truth.
Last thing I'll add, you're in competitor mode, which means that you are doing everything this weekend as a either plus or minus towards your weekend, meaning are you sleeping enough? Are you fueling enough? Are you recovering enough? Are you flushing enough? Are you warming up enough? All those little boxes that we talk about often on these podcasts, those all need to be checked this weekend. If you hope for those stars to align in the perfect configuration to allow you to do your best, this is that weekend where you take that time and do those things. Take the extra time, get the extra sleep, eat that extra meal, get that stress off your plate, because again, you want to be able to set yourself up for the best weekend possible, which means you need to be taking all those little tiny things and checking those boxes so you can perform your best.
You're stacking those tiny things up to create what we call your maturity meter. You're making those right decisions and you're just putting more in the bank. You're putting more in the bank. You're putting more in the bank. Imagine if you trained your ass off all year and you gave everything you had in all 5 of these pieces and you didn't do the easy things outside of the gym. That's the type of stuff that we don't want to see happen. No. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this podcast. We're warming up, we're cooling down, we're activating, we're relying on voodoo floss. We get the massage guns and the Compex out or whatever it's called. I don't remember anymore. There's so many brands.
Jingle jangles.
Much easier to flush your upper body with that. A lot of times lower body, you just hop on a C2 bike. It's no big deal. Really, really lean into this stuff and take care of yourself. Because at the end of the day, we're only asking you to do 3 workouts in 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe you do more than that. Maybe you do have to have a redo, or you want to tackle event 5 twice. Bless your soul.
Hunter does.
Yeah.
3 times maybe.
2 or 3.
Once a day until we
try
get there.
Moderate speed singles. I'm going to try really slow singles. I'm going to try really, really slow singles.
I love it. That's great. Anything else?
Have fun. It's fucking Misfit Christmas. Go get it.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gents, that was another episode of the Misfit podcast. We're really excited to see you out there on those leaderboards. We are going to be putting out content all weekend long. Keep an eye on our Instagram, our YouTube channel, all that good stuff, and we will see you next week.